Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about snowmobile tracks. So this is the 2005 MXZ 600 that I just bought. I'm really stoked. I'm looking forward to getting out and riding it this year. Or for my US friends, that's MXZ. Most of the sled is in really nice condition, and I think I paid an okay price for it. The one thing that it needs that I'm a little disappointed in is a new track. So we're going to talk about snowmobile tracks in this video. So I've been researching snowmobile tracks for a while, a couple of years now actually, because I was considering upgrading the track on this 97 MXZ 670. Now there's actually nothing wrong with this track, so it's in pretty good shape. It's an older model, camoplast, it's a 1-inch lug. You know, this one has been doing what I needed it to do. I kind of toyed with the idea of upgrading this track just for, like, I'm starting to ride in a little bit deeper snow now. That's why I've been looking into it. I had decided with this snowmobile that I was going to leave this track, at least for the time being, maybe get another season or two out of it. But as it turns out, with the new sled, I do need to change the track. One of your first concerns when you're buying a snowmobile track is what kind of riding do you do and where are you riding? So I was kind of hoping we could get the sled out and I could show you my area and the type of riding that I do. Looks like winter has abandoned us. I'm hoping temporarily. But anyway, let's get out and take a ride on the ATV. I'll show you where I have to get on the trail, but I have to do a fair bit of road running. Usually you'll get a couple inches of base that you can ride on. So even though it's road running, most of the time, if we have a decent winter up here, I've got enough snow under me that I'm not grinding my carbides up and crunching along on the gravel. Okay, so here we are at the trail. So on this side of the trail, that's where I get onto the trail, and I can take this and I can basically go all the way up to Tobermory. This side you used to go right through, but this fella, for whatever reason, and I don't actually know, has decided to close that trail off. So if you want to kind of continue along out of here, you have to ride the road. And see, it says right there, follow road to trail. Where I am now, actually, these are really nice trails, but they're private. I'm really lucky. I've got a good friend up here, and he's got a ton of really nice trails, and he lets us ride on them. There are some open areas back in here where I can sort of get off and play in deeper snow. So that's primarily the type of riding that I'm doing. Mostly trail riding, more road running than I want to do, and then occasionally I'll come back here and find some deeper snow to play around in. Okay, so that's the kind of riding that I do and the area that I ride in. I need to get myself a track that's going to accommodate that style of riding. I also have to get a track that's going to fit my snowmobile. So there's a ton of factors to take into account when you're looking for a track for your snowmobile, and I'm going to go through all of them right after the intro. Now this year, the snowmobile gods are smiling on me because I had an email from a snowmobile track manufacturer who said, "Hey Dave, can you review one of our tracks for your channel?" And I said, okay. And that company was Composite Snowmobile Tracks. And they did ask me to make sure that I do an honest and fair review of the track. So we're going to go a little bit better. We're going to talk about tracks in general. But this is the track that I ended up choosing. And they actually gave me free rein. I could choose any track that I wanted. And I chose the most appropriate track for my riding style. The track I ended up choosing is the T32. This is one of the tracks that Composite designs. It's primarily designed for hard packed surfaces like trails. But this 1.25-inch lug is also going to be pretty effective in deeper, loose snow. So we're going to talk about this in a few different videos because obviously we have to install it on a machine. We're going to talk about that in the next video. And then we need to ride with it for a while before we have a really good idea what this track does. So Composite is a relatively new player in the North America market. They've actually been around since '92, but it's only been since about 2010 they started manufacturing recreational products for the North America market. So previously, really the main choice was Camso. They used to be Camoplast. They used to be Kimpex tracks. I think a Kimpex Shotgun is a fairly similar track to this. The Camso Ripsaw would kind of be an equivalent track to this, that it's the kind of general purpose tracks, mostly for trail riding, but also for people that want to get into some deeper snow. All right, so even back before Composite reached out to me, I'd been doing a fair bit of reading and research on snowmobile tracks because I was planning on putting one on this older sled. One of the things I was doing was reading a lot of reviews online, and But I wasn't looking for reviews from snowmobile magazines. I wasn't looking for reviews from snowmobile retailers. I was looking for reviews from riders, from people that bought tracks. And overwhelmingly, the reviews of these tracks were really positive. Now, the one thing that they really pointed out is how inexpensive these tracks are. So, for example, this is a 2-ply, fully clipped track. And it's $5.19, I think, Canadian. The next track down from this is $4.99. Now, if you look at the closest competitor, it's probably the Ripsaw 2. The same track in the same size is going to run you like $6.89, so it's a substantial difference. I would encourage you to do a little bit of comparison shopping. So these tracks are inexpensive, but they are not cheaply made by any stretch. This is a really good, solid construction. So let's just go through some of the features that you're going to be looking for when you're buying a track. So your first two measurements, pretty basic length and width. So this is a 15-inch by 121-inch track. That's going to be dictated by the width of your tunnel and the length of your rear suspension. So sort of a general trail sled like I ride is going to have a 121-inch track. Some of the mountain sleds, there's crossover sleds, all kinds of different products now. But like a mountain sled, for example, those tracks, they can have a really long track. So you can go up to, 136, I think all the way up to 160 or more. Okay, the next measurement that's important is the lug height. Now, this is a 1.25-inch lug, or it's an 1.25 inch tall lug. And when I was looking at tracks, everybody said, whatever you do, make sure you buy at least an 1.25 inch lug. But there's actually more to it than that. So the height of this is dictated, firstly, by the amount of clearance you have underneath. So between the track and the tunnel, or the track and the heat exchanger. And my new machine can accommodate, it lists both of those in the manual as being options for that sled, both an inch and an 1.25 inch. Now, generally speaking, a taller lug is going to handle better if you're riding in deep snow, right? So it's just like a snow tire, right? A really aggressive tread pattern is going to handle better in the snow. But if all you ever do is ride hard packed surface, then you may be better off going with like a 1-inch lug, like this old machine has. So not only is a track with a 1-inch lug going to be less expensive for you, but if you have an older classic machine like this one, these older lower horsepower engines have to work a lot harder to turn a track with a taller lug. And you'd end up losing off your top end, right? So I would probably, if I was replacing the track on this machine right now, I would probably have gone with a 1-inch lug. So I would have gone with the T28. So it's the same track with a 1-inch lug. Next thing you need to know is pitch, or drive pitch. Now, you may see this referenced in a number of different ways. So the distance between the paddles, or center window to center window. What pitch refers to is the distance between the drive lugs on the inside of the track. No matter how you measure it, the important thing about pitch is it needs to mate with the pitch on the sprockets on your drive shaft. Most tracks are going to be 2.52. Some of the newer machines with those really long tracks and really tall lugs, they have a 3-inch pitch. And that's because the taller those lugs are, they actually work better with a little bit more distance between them. But in most cases, you're going to have a 2.52 inch. All right, so that's the basic measurements that you need to know for your track. So how do you know what track fits your machine? It's a couple of sources. The first thing I did when I bought both my machines was track down the owner's manual and the service manual. So that's something you should definitely do if you're buying a used machine. Call a dealer. So I talked to a couple of dealers when I was trying to decide between the 1-inch and the 1.25, and both of them said, no, all the newer revs shipped with 1.25 anyway. The track manufacturers will have fitment guides on the website. So, a lot of the retailers will have some kind of a guide there that will tell you as well. Other riders, online forums, Do Talk is a good example if you have a Skidoo, but there's a lot of online forums where you can connect with other riders that have the same machine as you. You can ask those questions there. So there's lots of ways that you can find out which track fits your machine. The other option you're going to have when you're looking at tracks is single ply versus 2-ply tracks. I think all the composite tracks are 2-ply. This is definitely a 2-ply track. So your track is layers of fabric sandwiched between rubber, and then there's cords as well that give it strength. A 2-ply track has 2 layers of fabric. Obviously, the track is a little thicker, a little stronger. I think it's going to last longer. It's definitely better if you're planning to stud your track. If you have a 2-ply track, it's, again, it's thicker, it's tougher, it's going to be less likely you're going to have pull-throughs. If you have a single-ply track, you can still stud them. They have special studs for a single-ply track. They have a wider base, and that actually puts a little bit more friction around the rear wheels, taking that bigger base around. So yeah, I felt better going with a 2-ply track. couple of other options you have. This track is fully clipped and every window open. And that's not true of all tracks. The reason I think that's important, so if it's fully clipped, there's a couple of things. So you're going to have less friction on your high facts. So obviously the high facts are going to slide better across these steel clips than they would against the rubber. So I think the wear in all cases, and it's less effort to turn that track around the high facts. The other thing when you have every window open is you're going to get more snow in here, and it's going to lubricate that high facts better as well. So that's the T32 from Composite Tracks. So, obviously I can't wait to get this installed on the machine and get out and ride with it. Then I'm going to have a much better idea how it performs. But in terms of how do I feel about it right now out of the box, I couldn't be happier. I mean, the construction of this thing is pretty obvious. I mean, we'll have to see like the actual formulation of the materials, how they stand up over time. It's just going to take time to see. But in terms of the construction, a 2-ply track like this, fully clipped, 1.25 inch lug, obviously really well made for the kind of money that you can get these tracks for. I think it was $519 retail. Again, I would urge you to comparison shop. So I don't want to keep saying that this is a cheap track, but you can't get away from the price, right? So again, typically you get what you pay for. In this case, I think for this kind of money, you're getting a lot of track. Let's just put it that way. Now, if you're on a super tight budget, the other thing you can consider is a used track. I didn't really want to go with a used track. I don't want to inherit somebody else's problems. It's not something that I'm going to replace all the time, and it's a really important component of the snowmobile. So I'd rather just get the right track for me, get something that's brand new, and know that it's going to last. Okay, I think if you're going to talk about snowmobile tracks, you need to talk about studs. So there's a couple of quick points that I want to make. If you're buying a track and you're planning on studding it, remember the construction of the track, right? It has polyester cords that run through it to give it additional strength. Every time you drill a hole through it to put a stud in, you're going to cut some of those cords. So I'm not saying don't stud. I'm saying do your research, make sure you're putting in the appropriate number of studs and that you're installing them properly. Second thing to keep in mind is track warranty. So Composite, for example, offers a 2 or 3 year warranty. Studding can void that warranty. And if you think about it, it makes sense, right? They're saying we believe in this product, we're going to stand behind it, but not if you drill a bunch of holes in it. So whichever track you buy, you may want to check the terms of your warranty before you put studs in. So that's it for this video, and if you're looking for snowmobile track, hopefully that gives you some things to think about. And if you are, make sure that you do some comparison shopping, but make sure that you take the time to check out Composite Tracks, because I think it might really be a really good option for you. So hopefully next week we're going to be able to get this track installed on my new machine, and obviously I'm going to do a video for you guys. So until then, I'm David Clark, and thanks for taking the time to watch. So this is a great track for a guy like me that wants to ride primarily on trails, but once in a while you want to get off on deeper... I heard that. And that company was... Alright, so if you think about... If you're buying a track, you're planning on studying it, remember the...